Pittsburgh Steelers are working on even more star power in George Pickens' game, and it's exciting to watch, and it's very exciting to hear. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk or subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Today, we are talking about the evolution of George Pickens into even bigger of a star. It is fun to watch George Pickens at OTAs and minicamp right now. Even if he's not doing a ton, there's pictures of him floating around where he doesn't have a helmet on, and I get it. It's early. Injuries happen, but we're not going to make a big deal out of anything right now because unless it's season ending, there's nothing to worry about. The Steelers are less than 24 hours away from a month-long break where everyone will get healthy and heal and nobody has to worry about anything. And right now, George Pickens believes that when he is back on the field and when he is ready, he's ready to explode. I talked to Frisman Jackson and George Pickens yesterday, and both of them talked about one element to the game that they believe Pickens can exceed at, and that they're pushing this offseason to kind of add into his arsenal to make sure that, yeah, this guy could catch a pass against anybody in the world, but he could also take a ball 60 yards to the house. He could turn any play into a touchdown, and he can be that Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Odell Beckham Jr., anybody of these stars, any one of these stars that you believe is better than George Pickens right now, they believe he could turn into them. This is what Frisman Jackson had to say about the next step of George Pickens.
If Pickens has single coverage outside, is he open?
He's open. It's the NFL. We just having that discussion as a staff. I mean, he's, NFL open and college open are two different things. So we expect him to win. If he gets single coverage, we expect him to win. And, more times than not, he should win. So we expect if he's one-on-one, he's open in my book.
See what they sometimes call a one-trick pony, and does he need to be more than that?
Well, we're hoping to add to his repertoire. I mean, last year he showed the vertical part of his game. He has a lot more to his game. So hopefully this year we can get him doing a bunch more of what he's capable of doing. I mean, he's a guy who can, we got to get him to be better after the catch. So he's a guy that he's got to be able to take a slant and go 60 with it. And so he showed one part of his game last year. We're working and improving the other parts of his game.
I think anybody would be excited to hear that JP is about to take slant routes to the house. Anybody would be. Anybody would be thrilled to know that a guy who could catch over anybody in the world, and I mean that when I say that. Last year I came on here and I said, George Pickens is already a star. It was over a year ago already that I was on this podcast talking to you guys, getting hate in the comments, and I get it. I jumped the gun, but I didn't jump the gun at all. I saw what I saw and I made a big deal out of it, and it turned out to be true because it was worthy of being a big deal at the time. George Pickens looked like an absolute monster. And I want to take you back to that. George Pickens, when I made a big deal out of him a year ago, what he was doing wasn't out catching anybody. At times he was. He had a catch radius that was unbelievable. He literally levitated in the air from time to time. It was insane. I've never seen somebody who just naturally floated to a football the way that George Pickens naturally floated to a football. But if you go back, what I talk about, what I highlight in that podcast is that George Pickens caught a pass 2-3 days into OTAs and took it. It was a slant route. Actually, it was just a crossing route. Took it across the field, outran everybody, and burned at least 2-3 corners down the sideline. The craziest part was you didn't see any of that during the season. You didn't see George Pickens make those plays. You didn't even see the opportunity for George Pickens to make those plays. So to hear that he's stepping into year 2 and acknowledging that he could make those plays, which we have seen, at least I have seen and told you guys, is huge. This is what JP had to say about where he needs to go with this, because it's not as easy as just being better than everybody. There's a skill to it, and he's acknowledging how to be better in that skill. I was just talking to Frisman Jackson, and he said that something that he thinks you could add this year is catch a slant taken at 60 yards.
Yeah, that's like one of the things we've been trying to work on, get them type of plays in also. So like trying to get that rack yards after catch.
So what goes into those yards after catch? Like, is it just the new routes or trying to move you around?
Really, the beginning of the route. I ain't gonna lie to you. If you mess up the DB super bad, then that's gonna give you more advantage for yards after catch. If you kind of have them on you, you can kind of break a tackle, but it's just a little harder. And the best advantage to really get that going and create that alive is have a great release plan.
We're at the point where George Pickens should be the Steelers' biggest superstar by the end of the season. He's a Justin Jefferson type player. He is unbelievable. He has gotten praise since the second that he stepped into the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex about how his catch radius is unbelievable. He has natural body control that players like Minka Fitzpatrick have never seen before. All of these things. Nobody has ever said a bad thing about George Pickens' play. Nobody has ever said this guy isn't remarkable. All they say all the time is that George Pickens does things that they did not believe were possible. And if he's already doing that, and he only has one element to his game in the eyes of the coaches and himself, imagine what he could do when he has a well-rounded arsenal of how to attack a defense. Imagine what the Pittsburgh Steelers are capable of doing if this guy is able to score on any play on any given day. What that does for him is unbelievable. What that does for the offense is even more unbelievable. Because George Pickens, even if he turns into the wide receiver 1 by the end of the season, isn't right now. It's still Deontay Johnson. And Deontay Johnson is a damn good receiver. He's so good, in fact, that if the Steelers have the opportunity where George Pickens needs to be double teamed at all times, Deontay Johnson, who is already the most open wide receiver in football, is only going to get better. He will only reach new heights that we did not think were possible. On top of that, think about what it does for Calvin Austin, Allen Robinson, Pat Freiermuth, Connor Hayward, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, maybe Anthony McFarland, maybe Darnell Washington. Endless opportunities. Insane talent for a defense to be focused on one guy, but unfortunately, they're going to have to be focused on one guy if George Pickens can do what he set out to do. Last year, I came on here and I made a big deal about how George Pickens was going to be a star. And I hate to be this guy, but I was dead on. This year, what I see is that George Pickens is ready to be a superstar. He is ready to be one of the best wide receivers in football. And he hasn't been doing much on the field. So there's not much to brag about and sit here and say, oh my gosh, this guy is unbelievable. He has taken it to a whole new level. But talking to him and talking to the coaches and hearing that they have a game plan to get this guy even better and add even more star power to his game, I mean, that is exhilarating. And then when you start to think about how the Steelers offense just needs that superstar to unleash all these other stars around them, to allow everybody else to have phenomenal seasons. I mean, on paper, this offense is really good. On the field, it's not as good, but that changes if teams have to focus as much as they're going to need to on George Pickens. It makes this team very, very dangerous. So, man, if George Pickens hits another level this season, just imagine how good the Steelers offense can be around him.